to make sure that everything is in perfect order. So then we turn on the machine. It moves back to the way it was. That is the automatic settings.
OK，然后可以停一下，然后我就做个注墨。
So this path, we are going to send inks to the print head. That is what we're going to do at the moment. And we can do this with two paths. We can either do it from the software here on the system, or we can do it manually. So if you want to do it with the system, with the computer, we can just come to print settings over here, and then click here. So if you want to use just one head, if you want to print, you want to send inks to just one head, you can just click one. But for this time, we're using all. And then you click all, and then then start. So, and the other method is through this button, these two buttons over here. So once you click on this button, once you press these buttons down, both of them at the same time, you start to hear the sound of the ink rushing into the pad. So I'm going to do it now. It's on. I've just pressed it down. You can check it out at the other side. So as you can see, the ink is popping into the head. The ink is getting into the head. And then there is something else as well. The ink pad sucks out ink from the ink sac, and then the impurities comes out there on this bucket. The impurities comes out there on this bucket. When I was doing that, it was also happening. If you took notes. Yeah, this over here, this is the ink, this is the ink, this is the pad, this are the pads. So you do that, and then the impurities comes out over there onto this bucket on the floor. What else? So for the software, we can also use the same way. It is the same thing with the one I just used right now. So once again, you come to print settings over here, print settings, and then you select all heads, and then start. You see, the same thing is happening again. It's sending inks to the head, to the print head, and then the pad is sucking out the impurities, the dirt from the print head over to the bucket on the floor. So now we're going to be having the inks sent to the print head, and we can do that in two ways. We can either do that on the system, on the computer here, or we can do it manually. So if you want to do it on the computer, it is very easy. You come here to print settings, and then you click on this add ink, click on all head, and then you click on the start button, and then the ink starts to flow into the print head. But for the meantime, we're going to be using these two buttons over here. We can also do that with these two buttons. You do that here, you can also do that here. So we use these two buttons here. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to add inks to the print head with these two buttons. Now, if I should press them down, we'll see the inks flowing in. So 3, 2, 1, go. So I just press the two buttons, and the ink is flowing in. So the ink just went in, and then the ink pad sucked out the impurities from the ink sac down to this bucket on the floor. After that, the next thing we'll do is to clean the printhead, because ink must have spilled up on some places on the head. So we have to clean the printhead. It's very, very important, so that you don't have your fabric stained or anything you want to print on. So you clean here, you click on this clean on all heads. Yes. And then you see it working over there. It starts cleaning. It also does something similar by sending out the impurities, the dirt, into this bucket as well. It moves and then goes down again. It sends out the dirt via the print pad into the bucket. So it is now cleaned and ready for use. It is now cleaned and ready for use.
这段就算完成了。
So the next part, the next phase we've gotten to in this whole setup between the digital printer and the Octopus screen printing machine is to move this digital printer to the right position. At the moment, it's not properly positioned, so we're going to move this machine, this whole machine, closer to the Octopus screen printing machine. That is what we're going to do at this time. So the first thing in doing that is to use this. We place this up here on top of this to have a stable balance in trying to move it inside, closer to the Octopus screen printing machine. So that is what we're going to do right now. So we can take it in and then move it closer to the Octopus screen printing machine. This is because we want this machine to be able to print the full image that is going to be on the palette. So now we're moving it in. First of all, we're raising it up, and then we'll take it in. Coming out a bit. And then now, we take it inside. We'll take it inside. It has to be done this way in order for you to have a full printing. The whole table must be covered, and the cart has to be straight. The cart has to be straight. If not, the printing won't be possible. The cart has to be straight. If not, the printing won't be possible. The max millimeter for the maximum distance for the cart is 1,200 millimeters. That is the maximum distance for the cart. So this is all the reasons why we needed to move this machine, that is the digital printer, closer to the Octopus screen printing machine. Now it is still being moved at the moment. We're still trying to move it inside, closer to the Octopus screen printing machine. So now we're trying to see if it's well positioned. That is for the y-axis, moving the cart forward. We're still trying to see if it's well positioned. And then the Z, for the Z-axis, it has to come down to see if it's in the right place. We're checking. We just move this to we're checking everything. If they are okay, we have to make all those adjustments to make sure that the machine is properly set for printing. This is very important. This is very, very important. The cart has to be straight. Remember that. The cart has to be straight via the table. From here. You can see the cart. You can see the cart is straight on it. It has to be that way. It has to be very straight for you to have a stable printing.
是歪的是吧？现在是歪的，是看这个就是形表的距离。现在就调那个平行的，在这个 balance。
So now we're adjusting the balance of the cart. We're adjusting the balance to make sure that it is well stable. We're adjusting the balance of the cart at the moment. Remember, we had to do this in order for us to have a stable printing, a printing without issues. The cart needed to go a bit further, to get on the whole table. So now we are trying to adjust the balance and then set up the position in a way whereby it doesn't have to move at all. So we're making those adjustments at the moment. We're setting up the balance for each of the positions. The y-axis, the x-axis, the z-axis, we have to set every position to make sure we have a stable printing. If it's not okay, things would go wrong. This is a very important aspect. You see, it is just right on the edge of the table. It is just right on the edge of the table. This is very, very important in setting up your own digital printer / your automatic screen printing machine. So it is very important to do this. So we're still trying to make sure that everything is well positioned before we move on to the next phase of the printing. The positioning is very important once more. It's very important. I need to emphasize on it again. The positioning of this machine is very, very important.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Now we adjust it.
So now the next thing to do is to adjust the foot of the digital printer. The foot needs to be adjusted as well. Just the way we have adjusted the whole machine. Remember, it was moved. So each foot, each leg has to be adjusted as well. That is for the machine to have a balance. We need to make sure that each leg is properly positioned to have a proper balance. So that is what we're trying to do at the moment. Good. Foot all set. The machine is also set as well as it's supposed to be. We've just adjusted the whole x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. We are trying to make sure everything is intact before we begin the printing.
小杯的。
机器的水平，它会 adjust the height and balance of the machine.
第四个角一样，四个角高度一样。
Has the same height.
Okay. So now we're going to adjust the angles of the digital printer, the 4 angles of this machine. So now we are adjusting the height of the x-axis. We need to check if it's in the right position. We're checking if
这个说不准啊，你会根据这个来。这个
we're checking the height of the x-axis to make sure it's in the right position. So that is what we're doing at the moment. If it's not in the right position, the legs needs to be adjusted again to make sure that the whole machine is in a balance. So we just checked and we saw that the positioning is a bit different. So we need to adjust the legs a little bit and then check again. So we just adjusted the legs and now we'll check again if it is okay. This is a very important aspect as well. This is a very important aspect as well. You check over there. If it's not okay, you adjust the legs. So it is appropriate for the height between the table and the x-axis, that is this point, to be 17.5 millimeters. 17.5 millimeters. So we do this here and then we check at the other angle as well. We also check at the other angle. That is what the technician is trying to do at the moment. $17.5 is very okay. 17.5 mm is very okay. 17.5 millimeters. So we are checking at the other angle to make sure that it is also well balanced. We have to check at every angle. The 4 angles of the tables, we use the 4 angles of the tables, that is of the pallet, in checking.
Must be lower than the table.
Okay. And then this plate over here, this area, this panel over here must be lower than the table. This panel over here, over this port, where we have the colors here, must be lower than the table. That is very important as well in setting up your digital printer and the Octopus screen printing machine. So the 4 angles of the tables, once again, must be checked with the x-axis. That is what it's trying to do at the moment. Remember, we just checked on the other side, the opposite side. So once you check there, you adjust the legs of the digital printer to make sure that it is well balanced. There is a technician at the other side adjusting the legs. You can see him down there adjusting the legs, while the other one is here with okay. So the legs have been adjusted. It has to be 17.5 for each of the angles. It has to be 17.5 for each of the angles. for each of the 4 angles, the same size. The same size for each of the 4 angles. 17.5 for each of the 4 angles. So we are confirming, he's confirming again to make sure that it is well balanced. He's confirming to make sure it is well balanced. Each of the angles must be in the same each of the 4 angles must have the same height. Each of the 4 angles must have the same height via the x-axis. So you use the x-axis directly on the table in measuring the height. We have to check again. This is a very important aspect because you may think you have tightened the screws for the legs. So he's going to do it again. It is very, very important to have the height, each of the angles well checked. It is very important to have each of the heights well checked. Each of the angles, I mean. So in setting up your digital printer and your Octopus screen printing machine, this is a very important aspect. You check the height via the x-axis directly on the table. You check the height, and then if it's not okay, you tighten the screws for the legs to make sure you have the same height. So we'll do this, and then we'll check again to make sure it is okay. So now we have to confirm if it's okay. We have to confirm if it's all okay. Now we have just confirmed. Still 17.5. So the 4 angles have to be 17.5. The 4 angles have to be 17.5. So you take this measurement from the x-axis down this point, down to the table. 17.5 for each of the 4 angles. So now that we have all balanced the whole machine, we will tighten the screws of the legs. We'll tighten the screws of the legs firmly. So that is what he's doing at the moment, tightening the screws of the legs to make sure that the digital printer doesn't move. Tighten the screws of the legs to make sure the digital printer doesn't move. It is very important to tighten the screws or it is very important to tighten the screws. So that is what the technician is doing at the moment. He's tightening the screws for the 4 legs. So the part we've gotten to in this whole printing process is to use the film. This is a transparent film over here. What we need to do here is that we need to place the, what do they call it? The image, we need to, stop it first. So the part we have gotten to right now in this whole printing process is to get the film and then place it here on the pallet. We'll get the film, place it on the pallet, we'll take the measurements and then input it on the system. What we're going to do is we'll place the film on the pallet and print the base color on the pallet before transferring it to the screen. Then there we'll have the main printing. In doing that, okay, let us get it film. The film. This is the transparent film. This is the transparent film over here.
We need to know the size of the image at first.
The size of the image.
We need to know the size of the image. Yeah.
Okay, so this in setting up the size, we need to first measure the width of the pallet. So measure the width of the pallet here. It is 430 millimeters over here. 430 millimeters over there. And then we check on the height here.
Image size.
The image size for the height is 398. So what we do here now, we subtract the 430 millimeters by this number. So we come to our calculator on the phone. We do 430 minus there is 398 for the size. 398 will give us 32. By this 32, we'll divide it by 2. Divided by 2 equals to 16. And then for the margin, we enter 16 for the Y margin over here.
Where is the Y margin?
This is the Y margin here.
Okay.
This is the Y margin here.
Where? From here, where is the Y margin?
From here to this other side.
This is the Y margin.
This is the Y margin. This is the X axis, and this is the Y margin. This is the X axis, and this is the Y margin over here. So now we'll get a frame. Since we've made our calculations over there, we'll get the frame of the same size. And then we'll confirm the size. The same size, it has to be the same size. Okay. Yeah, I said it. This is the film. This is the transparent film over here. This is the transparent film. Now we'll print the film. We'll print the base color on this film before transferring it to the screen. So now it has just moved inside the digital printer. It has moved inside the digital printer, and then since we've already entered our figures over here, we'll click on Save, and then we'll click on Print. So now it is going to start the printing of the base color on the film. And then here we'll press this button to make sure the printing starts at once. Now the printing has just started. It's printing the base color on the film at the moment. Very important, you must enter the
来，选择这个打印模式，告诉他怎么打印模式哪一个。这样，对。
So this is the print direction over here. This is the print direction. If you want to print on the film, you have to either click to the left or to the right. You either click to the left or to the right. And then
那个打印的它点不开，看这里吧。
And then, if you want to print on the film also, for this occlusion enable, you click on the ink mode. If you want to print on fabric, you click on the plus even. That is the function of this button over here. Here, if you want, for this print direction, it is working at the moment, so we can't change this part at this time. But for this print direction, if you want to click on the fabric, if you want to print on the fabric, you click here, this arrow, it drops down, and then you click on the bidirectional. So it works in both ways.
Because it's a single head for testing, so the speed is very slow, just use one printing head.
So because we are testing at this time, the printing speed is slow. We are testing at this time, that's why we have the printing speed to be slow, because this is the testing process. We're printing at the moment, printing the base color on the frame. I just did. For the Y margin, remember we calculated the width over here for the x-axis. We calculated the width over here, and then we subtracted the image height side by this number 398, and we got the 16 for the Y margin. The X margin depends on you. You can have it however you want it for the X margin.
Y from here.
Yeah, this is the Y margin, and this is the X. This is the Y margin, and this is the X over here.
This is X. This X. This is Y.
This is the X, and this is the Y.
This is Y. This is Y. This is X.
Oh, this is the X. This is the X margin here.
Yeah.
And this is the Y.
Here.
From here, from this way to this way. And from this way to this way. This is the Y margin. And then from here to here is the X margin. So we're printing at the moment, we're printing on the film. We're printing on the transparent film at the moment. After this part, we're going to take the film and then export the image to the screen.